Hello again. I've decided that I better write a letter to my MLA about the issue at the courthouse in Surrey, the new security protocol. So I've done that here tonight. I'm not sure what else to do apart from perhaps talk to the sheriff at the courthouse. I don't expect much would come of that. So I thought a starting point might be to write Judy Darcy, MLA, my MLA here in New Westminster. I thought I'd read the letter out to you just so you know what I'm sending. I'll send this out tomorrow, I think. Dear Miss Darcy, I'm a family lawyer who practices in New Westminster. I also live in this city. As you are likely aware, renovations have recently completed at Surrey Provincial Court, including a new secure entrance for all people who attend the court. This new entrance involves an extreme change in the security protocol for entering Surrey Provincial Court. I'm not aware of any rational basis for this severe departure from the status quo. I believe this new procedure will impede the administration of justice and make violence more likely in the courthouse, apart from it being an unjustified expense that we cannot afford. For these reasons, I ask that you attend closely to these new changes and investigate whether there may be some reasonable ground to reduce the scale and scope of this new security protocol. If you are not aware, the new entrance, mandatory for all people attending the public building, starts with a narrow corridor where the public is collected into a line. It is impossible to see around the obstructed corner. An armed officer blocks your forward progress, and the people who have followed behind you block you from the door you have just come through. You are effectively trapped. I do not know what the result of a fire or earthquake emergency would have on the people waiting in that corridor, but I would not imagine an orderly exit. As the armed officer blocks the entrance, people are let through one at a time to a separate room and subject to pat-down tests by two armed officers. Everybody from grandmothers and grandfathers to infants are poked, lifted, prodded, and screamed, including baby strollers. Attendees are required to empty the contents of bags, purses, and pockets, and pass their personal bags through screening devices. Then, each individual must pass through a metal detector, monitored by another armed officer with a metal detecting wand. The whole process takes between 1 to 4 minutes per person. I feel like I have fallen into a nightmare of Franz Kafka. Until this week, there was no such security screening whatsoever. The public building was simply open to the public. It seemed to work pretty well. Now, whether individuals are applying for child support, parenting time, Sunday access to their child, they are presumed to be a mortal threat to every person in the courthouse. I have been working in and out of this courthouse for many years. I am not aware of there ever being a weapon attack that would have been stopped by this new protocol. Indeed, apart from the occasional lost temper and appropriate arrest, I have not seen violence in the courthouse whatsoever. I recognize the necessity of the safety and security of our sheriffs, but serious changes, serious restrictions on the public's access to public buildings must be justified with reference to rational, reasonable evidence, not a fear of shadows around every corner. Yes, each person is capable of violence, and yet we have managed to get along reasonably well in the courthouse without being subject to wartime-like searches of our person. It is demeaning to the soul of each person to be presumed to be a violent threat, and for the vast majority of people it is a completely baseless presumption. Apart from the corruption of the environment caused by this new protocol, it is likely to induce additional aggression and violence in all those who attend. If you treat people like violent animals, then that is exactly what you will get. This is not about right or wrong, law or order, but psychology. If you want to see people in an agitated and defensive state, place them in a confined space from which they cannot leave, surround them with strange, armed men, and treat them as if they are a mortal threat to all those that they encounter. This shows a careless disregard for human dignity. I warn you that what you will see from this is a significant increase in aggressive behavior for all of those in the courthouse. I pity perhaps most of all those who work there, who probably didn't realize they were taking a job at a prison and probably didn't want to. Back to the mundane, this new protocol is already interfering with the administration of justice. As several people often arrive at the court at the same time, it can take up to 30 minutes to now enter the courthouse. The Provincial Family Court and CFCSA Court, that's Child Protection, which are conducted at Surrey, are already beset by parties that are late for appearances or who do not appear at all. Placing a 30-minute prison-like barricade in front of these individuals with little personal wherewithal can only serve to further exacerbate these problems. I attended the court. I can tell you these effects are already being seen. The courtroom for the family list, normally full with participants, was deserted. The court was stood down in the middle of the day because there were not enough people present to deal with a single matter. The list had over 24 matters on it. The people were all outside waiting to be approved for entry. I know firsthand that criminal prosecutions, family matters, and child protection matters are suffering for a lack of court resources. I struggle to understand how we can possibly justify this extraordinary expense that appears to be born out of a fear of shadows rather than a rational assessment of threat. Please attend to this issue carefully, for this great expense is liable to increase violence and aggression and interfere with the administration of justice. Thank you for your time. So we'll see, hopefully, if she responds and what Judy Darcy's response will be. And perhaps it will open up some new avenue to, I don't know, put some reasonable restriction on this new protocol. Thanks for listening.